We have approval of last month minutes.
Also move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Michael?
Okay, great. In the interest of time, we've got a pretty full agenda today, so we'll just move right into the meat of it in E2 finance, payment of bills. In your packet for the invoices from AJHL for services rendered through September and October 2023, along with Williams McCarthy. Services rendered through October 24th. Are there any questions on those? None. We'll move on to total accounts payable invoices. So this month's invoices were included in your packet. The sum total of those were $711,432.99. Any questions on that?
I had not.
None. Your approval?
Make a motion to approve accounts payable and the total amount of $711,432.99.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll move on to item B then, the approval of fiscal year end June 30th, 2023 draft audited financial statements and report presented by Baker Tilly. We have Joey Dodson with us today to go through the audit report and answer any questions from you.
Thank you very much for having me with you today. I think that what was sent along, there was the full draft documents, but also two real short handouts, and that's what I'm going to talk from. So I'll start with the one for the district operations. And similar to prior years, we will be issuing an unmodified or a clean opinion on the financial statement. So that's the highest level of assurance we can give. To let you know, the only reason they're not signed at this time, we were waiting on a final communication from the attorney, which we got today. And we're waiting on one insurance premium number that goes in a footnote that we're working with an outside party to get. And once we have that, then we'll finalize. So none of the other information will change. It's just kind of that loose ends there. But what we do to start the audit process is look at the processes and controls and the types of transactions you have each year to make sure that if there's anything that's changed, that we can incorporate that into our audit plan as to how we're going to test the transactions and balances. So I'm happy to report that there were no compliance findings related to the grant funds. And the only item that we report related to controls is consistent with prior years, that we assist in the preparation of the full GAAP financial statements a year. And that's relatively common for governmental entities to have, that it's just hard to have a staff the size to dedicate the time for that once a year task. So we assist with that in quite a few different places, but overall things look very good. So if we go to the next page, we have the detail of the 2023 revenues. And I don't think there's a big surprise here that the largest pieces of the pie are the state and federal funding. But what may be more helpful is to look at the next page where we look at this as a 4-year trend. And so here we can see revenues overall were up from 22 to 23. And as you look down that, they were up in pretty much every category. So that's really positive, especially seeing the fare and other revenues increasing. And one note is this does not include capital contributions because those can vary so much from year to year based on what you've got going on for purchases or construction. So the next two pages look at the expenses. Again, first looking at kind of 23 big picture, the largest two categories are labor and benefits, which I can say is consistent with every transit organization that I work with. Those are the largest two categories of expenses. That miscellaneous item that shows as a negative, the driver of that is related to your self-insurance activities. So you budget a certain amount of kind of normalized insurance activity, and then if payments for the year below that, it shows as a negative when we do the final reporting. So that's just what that relates to. And then again, on page 5, we've got the 4-year trend. So we can see here that even with more activity going on in 2023, that the expenses were down a little bit across. And here we've grouped it by transportation, maintenance, and general administration. So kind of the 3 areas or buckets that you think about. And the biggest decrease there was in the general administration. And the last page here, then, what I wanted to do is just touch on the required communications. There's a separate document that has, I think ultimately ends up being a blue cover. I printed it in black and white, with a swirl there. That goes through things in a lot more detail. But ultimately, the financial statements and all of the information that goes into them is your responsibility. It all comes from your records and from management. And our responsibility is, again, to perform the audit or the test so that we can issue that opinion on the financial statements. We're required to note that there are estimates included in all financial statements, things like depreciation, insurance claims that may come in the future related to prior activities, the pension and OPEB liabilities that are calculated by the actuary. With all of those kind of things, we go through and look at the methodologies, the key inputs, and make sure that they're consistent and in accordance with standards. So no concerns there. We had no difficulties or disagreements with management, no consultations on unique accounting issues. If there was anything of that nature, we'd be communicating that to you. There are some adjustments that are prepared at year end. I think these were all very consistent with prior years. Things related to the self-insurance activity being incorporated into the overall statements. Final adjustments related to the pensions and OPEBs, and those deferrals. And so nothing unique there, and a detailed list of those is available for management. And then, of course, there's the management representation letter that will be signed, just saying that we've been given minutes to these meetings, access to all the records, people answered any questions, so those kind of things. But overall, things went really well this year. I think we're in a great position, and we'll be finalizing very shortly. The other packet is similar for the pension trust. So again, that will be receiving an unmodified or a clean opinion, the highest level of assurance that we can give. And here we've got just two metrics to look at. I guess there's three, I'm sorry. The first one is the cash and investments by type. And we can see that the overall cash and investment balance did increase from 2022 to 2023. And that was primarily, I think, driven in those first two categories there. This is in part based on contributions and then also market. And when we look at the next page, you can see really the impact of this is while the total pension liability went up a little bit from 2022 to 2023, as everyone earned another year of that benefit, the net position increased more, such that the net liability that's reported in the district statement went down. So now that total pension liability at the end of 2023 was 83.5% funded. So it's a really strong position. And even as we look over the last 4 years, while there's been some ups and downs with market impacts there, it's been 75% or higher for all 4 years. So very strong. And then the last one here, we've just shown your actual contributions compared to the required contributions as determined by the actuary. So you can see for all of the last 4 years, your contributions have been at or above that required level. So that's very positive as well. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
We appreciate all the work you guys put into this, and really happy about the unmodified opinion in both of them.
We appreciate all the work that management puts in. We come in and ask a lot of questions, ask for a lot of data, some of it from a year ago, which we know is always a challenge. So we do appreciate all that.
Thank you so much, and certainly appreciate Ron and Paula's efforts and the rest of the team for their contributions to making sure this goes smoothly, and obviously Jody and Jalissa and all their support from Big Utility. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion?
Yeah, I think that's the next things.
Approve the fiscal year end June 30, 2023 draft audited financial statements report.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank
Jody.
you. Have a wonderful holiday.
You too.
Safe drive back.
Thank you.
So we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, item C, approval of the unaudited financial statements for September 2023. That was included in your report for review. So we're continuing to trend at least through September positively, have a positive budget variance for the month and for the year to date. Any specific questions on that?
I didn't know.
Otherwise,
Approve, motion to approve the unaudited financial statements for September 2023.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
moving on to item D, the pension portfolio review for the period ending December 5th, 2023, and the pension investment statement for the month ending October 31st, 2023. So summary included from Benedict Associates for your review, and again, it's positive outcomes there. So it used to be positive for and positive for year to date. Any questions? Okay, perfect. All right, with that, then we'll move on to the operations section report, the first route ridership stats for October 2023, and demand response stats for September 2023. Again, we continue to trend in a positive direction, ridership wise and revenue wise in October up over 35% this October compared to last October in that 100,000 rides a month range. And budget year, we continue to be positive over 30% increase in ridership and over 26% in revenue from ridership. So some good news there across the board. And as you go through the particular sections, note that one of the drivers here, we had one more weekday than we had weekend day in November, so that obviously contributes to a little bit higher ridership than the previous year. I think one less Saturdays, same number of Sundays, one weekday in there, so that helps out. But overall, take that out, we still would have been much higher than the prior years. Any questions specifically on that report?
It's great to see.
No, yeah.
So one thing I'll mention is that we are, in terms of percentage, what we're seeing year to date and month over month is somewhat consistent with the rest of our peer agencies in the states. There's some positive national trends, but certainly in our peers across the state, folks are seeing in 20+% ridership gains as well. So I think we might be doing a little bit better, slightly better, but it's kind of consistent. We're seeing ridership across the state. So that's positive. Good. Moving on to the demand response report, outlining total ridership for the month of September compared to last year, down slightly year to date, 1% over where we were the prior fiscal year. SMT slightly down for the month of September. BCCA in Boone County was up a slight percent for the quarter. And then, we continue to see some positive ridership from our Medicaid sector, which is, from a revenue standpoint, is that comes in at a higher rate than a typical demand response ride. So overall, kind of flat, but consistent in what we can see here so far. Any questions? No. Okay. And moving on to item B, just real quickly, we talked about last month that we were anticipating finishing up with our review of the RFP for our command response software. We weren't able to coordinate with all of our vendors for their demos. And so we have a couple of demos left this week to finish up that process. And once those take place, then we'll finish the evaluation and have a recommendation for. So we're anticipating scheduling a meeting here, perhaps next week, and we'll get to that at the end, just to confirm that. To wrap up that process, we'll do a special board meeting to award for that RFP. So just a quick update on that. Somewhat tied to that, item C, which is the RLS paratransit dispatch and scheduling assessment report. We talked to the board about this a couple different times over the past several months about the consultant who came in to help us develop the RFP and make sure we had a comprehensive RFP to submit and they provide feedback on that. But while they were on site, they also looked at the business processes that we had in place in our dispatch office and how we were scheduling and dispatching and operating our service and provided us some good feedback on opportunities for improvement or enhancements with what we're doing. And so this report essentially summarizes their findings relative to both the feedback from the RFP review as well as their assessment. And a lot of good feedback that the staff's been working off of their recommendations, their suggestions on ways to improve how we're operating that service. Just a couple notes on there, taking advantage of several of the training opportunities that they've outlined or in the process of scheduling some training opportunities for our dispatch staff, our management staff. And so that's ongoing, as well as some follow-up trainings that we partnered with RAMP to provide on a yearly basis with our operators, sensitivity training, informational training around how we help our customers navigate the system. So that was included in the report, and we'll continue to reference this as we look at more opportunities to improve how we're managing that service. Urge you to take a look at that if you haven't done so already. If you have any questions?
The ride request intake script. Is that something you guys have put into practice already or will do?
We have one, so they had a one that they came up with that they suggested as well, that we're taking a look at that.
Okay.
One of the other things that you brought that up, there's an eligibility process that RAMP helps us with. They take care of resolving any issues that we get with eligibility, that we make a determination on, that there's an opportunity to contest that, and they're ultimately the group that determines that for us. But we've also taken this as an opportunity to further partner with them and enhance our review process when folks are submitting paratransit applications. RAMP has now identified an individual that will also be one of our application assessors. So that way we're reviewing those applications through their lens and not just our own staff's lens, even though our staff is trained on how to review those. This gives us an opportunity for them to also weigh in on that, to make sure that we're making good sound evaluations on eligibility. And the individuals that are appointed to do that are separate from the folks that would be involved with the process if we found that application, that we denied an application. Ultimately, we're making an RMT staff to make a determination on eligibility. We have a 3-step process there. One of our steps in there to give us a evaluation. So looked at, again, opportunities for further partners. Part of that, then also what that allows for them to do is identify folks that there may be opportunities for travel training that they may not be aware of as part of the application process. So that helps bolster our relationship with them and identifying opportunities for them who RAMP provides ride training for us. And so they have a good insight then into individuals they can reach out to offer their training services to. So it's a way to strengthen our existing partnership and enhance that. And so that's one of the things that was one of the outcomes from this assessment as well. So we looked at implementing that. So. All right. With that's enough for the questions. We move on to E4, which is the maintenance vehicle and facilities report. So first off, we've got the report on fixed route buses and paratransit vehicles for October and November. Were any questions on that data?
No questions, just a comment. Is there an ability to split or to provide a second graph in the roll call by category for the 3 different style buses, one for straight diesel, one for diesel hybrids, and one for the battery electrics?
Yeah, we can do that. I think that'd be too difficult. Just consolidating that. Really what we're left with at this point in the diesel fleet is just the 09s and 13s. And 09s.
Only a couple of nine.
Only a couple of 9s left. But yeah, we could certainly do.
Well,
Like 6:30.
when I see 16 or 18.
Yeah.
Engine called, I wanted to know.
Yeah.
What,
Which fleet?
which fleet is that in?
Yeah, yeah, I mean, that's the way to split it out and take a look at doing that.
Or you should just know that.
Yeah, just know.
Yeah. That's a good point.
The other ones are all, I mean, the fare box, it doesn't matter what kind of vehicle it is, it's.
Yeah.
Could be, it's just maybe they just the engine.
Yeah. No, that's good. I think we can, pretty easy to do that, so it's a good suggestion. Anything else?
No.
All right, then we'll move on to the maintenance and facilities update report. Dan's not here today, he had a conflict, so just going through this real quickly, our charging infrastructure, sprinkling upgrade installations moving along, hopefully we'll be finishing up this week into next, and then we'll make sure that we get the requisite permits and sign off on that, so we can move into validating, requesting the chargers and doing those up, and so there'll be a function way to coordinate through the to charge point contractor as well as the contractor who installed the equipment. So hopefully, that all moves forward, and by the end of the month, we'll be able to get that with travel and anything else, and getting the folks out from charge point. This may get dripped into the 1st of January before we get everything up. So that's moving along finally, and almost ready to wrap that up. So that's positive. Shelters, we mentioned this a couple different times, and update on the progress of this. Finally, the 3rd and 4th shelters got installed out on West State Street. To complete the 4th shelter install, that was part of the West State Street reconstruction project by IDOT. Gotten some positive feedback from residents out in that area. We're happy to see this in place. So we've got to build on that. We've got some projects, shelter installation projects we're working on, identifying priority locations for 2024, and met with the city to start reviewing how they can partner with us on some of the sites. So hopefully have more updates on that before in the coming months once we get those locations and put the schedule together on getting those going. The parking lot is, as you can see, it's nearly finished. No cars parked there yet today. We're still waiting for a pole to get taken down at this point. This last one of the utility providers, ComEd, has put in the new pole, moved their stuff. We have to have AT&T move some of their equipment out the pole, and so that's the final one that's supposed to get scheduled tomorrow. And hopefully the pole will be down tomorrow. With that, then the last piece is to remove the pole and then take the section that's the main apron to enter the parking lot and pour pad concrete there, and that's all anticipated to be done this week. So we're hoping for a Christmas present this year, and having a lot ready to be opened by maybe as early as the end of next week.
So we'll put Santa out there when it's open?
Maybe we'll do that, right?
Yeah.
So it's been a little longer than anticipated, but yeah, it's come together nicely, and just driving past it, it's been a welcome change to that point, I think, so that's positive. Next bus order, pre-production meetings held, the next 4, still scheduled at this point to go online with POA the end of April, so that's really positive. They go online in April, we can see buses by June. So that's that last 4 that replaces those 09s that we have in place. So, good news on that, but that's moving along quickly. Hopefully we'll, around that same time, anticipate having those paratransit vehicles that we awarded, go online and start being produced right around the same time too. So that's what we're expecting with that contract. Last thing, the expansion project. We've been wrapping up meetings with Larson Darby on several fronts. We're in the process of finalizing the whole pre-bid package to send to IDOT for review. IDOT's still in the process of finalizing the grant agreement and designating the funds in which the grant will be funded by, whether it's PAYGO or the bond funds. So that has to come first before any of this stuff really is ready to happen. So despite the fact that our process is taking a little bit longer, that process is slowed down, and we're basically in line with it. So even if we were ahead of it, we'd still be waiting. A long story short, but, good news on that is, like I said, we hope to be moving forward with that free bid into the state or into IDOT, and then, you know, with the holidays coming up, could be 3 to 4 weeks at this point before that review is done. They are aware of the fact that it's a high priority.
That document is huge.
Yeah.
I want to put that in, guys. Come on. It's gotta be
Once that's
700,000 people.
And once that's done, we're still in good shape, I think, in terms of being able to get a bid on the street this winter, which was always been the objective, is to get something on the street in the wintertime and not in the spring. More favorable bidding conditions. So, we're still, I think, in a good place. Any questions on either one of those items? No questions. The last item then on the maintenance side is the approval of a contract for diesel fuel for 2023-2024 12-month contract. We went out to bid, or got quotes from a couple different vendors on this. Warren Oil quoted $2.79 a gallon, Conserve FS, who we have now at $2.72 a gallon. We're currently at $2.70 a gallon. So pretty much flat in terms of the cost there, and it's really come down over the last couple of months, and it typically comes down this time of year, and we want to capture it. We think it's going to be a low point for us and lock in the fuel price for a year, and will help us for our budgeting process. So staff's recommending to go with Conserve FS to supply it to some. Any questions?
I'll make a motion to award the diesel fuel contract, Conserve FS for calendar year 2024, $2.72 a gallon.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next item is Human Resources, the claims history report, through October 2023. So, what I want to say about this, it needs to trend the way that, it has been trending in the most favorable direction, but it's, we're at 25% compared to where we were October 2021, and up 43 through October, or October compared to 2022. Year to date, 18%. So, you know, see if some of this starts to come down and flatten out. As you
Sure.
knock on the fake wood, that comes down a little bit, but that's the current trend. Any questions? All right, we'll keep moving then. Next time, then we have marketing reports. First item, approval of advertising contracts. Orlando, you want to touch on those?
Yeah, 3 contracts, all extensions, Goodwill, Galapagos, and the Winnebago Health Department. 2 are bus wraps, that's Galapagos and Winnebago. And then the Goodwill is their yearly extension that they do with us. They've been doing it for at least the last 4 or 5 years on a year basis. So they want to re-up again. So those are the 3 contracts that you have in front of you.
I'll move that we approve all 3 advertising contracts presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks. We'll move on to the next item, then approval of fare capping. Information. So memo included in your packet for review outlines a fixed route fare pilot that we'd like to implement that involves fare capping using our token transit application. I think going back a little bit in time, as you recall, during comprehensive mobility analysis, one of the goals that we identified was ways to help our riders more easily navigate the system, more user-friendly fare options. And one of the strategies we identified was fare capping through mobile ticketing. Just to familiarize you with what fare capping is, it limits how individuals pay for all their trips in a day, week, or month. Once individuals pass purchases and activations in a day, week, add up to the value of a higher value pass, they automatically are provided the higher value pass using the remaining period of time. So provide an example of what that looks like, just with our base level fare. If somebody on token transit bought our single ride fare for $1.50 and used it, and then later that day decided to ride again and bought another single fare for $1.50, they now spent $3 total. That's the cost of our all-day pass. So automatically, the system identifying the fact that they purchased and used it would automatically upgrade them to the all-day pass. In that case, there's no difference in price, if you will. It's the same either way, but what the system is able to do, what Token Trans is able to do is in circumstances where, let's say someone who has a 7-day, buys a 7-day pass and buys it consecutively, right, each week. Third week, they're up to
$48.
$48. And then the fourth week, they decide to buy a 7-day pass again. Now they've gone over the cost of a $55 30-day pass, right? So what the system would do is it automatically upgrade them to the $55 30-day pass, and then it would credit them back the difference of what they would have paid had they gone in that direction as opposed to the buying the 7-day pass. So it's a way in which is indicated here. It really allows lower income riders, for instance, who are challenged by higher amount upfront costs of passes, allows them to pay the same as if they were able to afford that upfront cost. So it kind of levels that out, allows them to get the benefit of those passes in the same way that somebody would be able to do that can. So it's being a way that we can enhance that and just add another, I guess, tool and a benefit to our riders. It's something we simply turn on within the Token Transit application, identifying those adult fare passes that we have. It works. It's the pass that we're talking about, basically the full fare, the all day, 7-day, 30-day. In any of those circumstances where folks are using that and they get they use it to the level which requires the activation next run, they'll get the monetary benefit buying on Token Transit. So we're asking the board to approve the 1-year pilot. We'll take a look to see what the usage is, what the total outcome of this is, how many instances it's utilized, what were the differences in terms of the fare revenue that we end up trading off back to the customer and make a recommendation for whether we continue as a permanent fare policy. So any questions relative to doing this?
So you'll come back in a year and say,
We've seen this, it seems successful. Yes. Yeah. This gives an opportunity to get a better sense of perhaps what the revenue impacts are. We think it's marginal, but it really gets a better sense and identify that. I think we had them look at some data over a 3-week period in November, and they were landing about 60 instances.
Actually more like going back and looking at like 200.
Oh, it was 200.
Yeah,
200 instances where this would have took place had we implemented it. Keep in mind that a lot of those instances may have been the full fare single ride ticket going up to the all day pass, which is predominantly our highest percentage. Our lower percentage categories in terms of people buying are in 7 and 30-day passes, but it'd be really interesting to see and look at the data and really be able to make a long-term decision on what. But from an equity standpoint, makes a lot of sense.
And it also helps with marketing because you might have an individual that doesn't know about the monthly pass, but they're, based on how they get paid or however it works, they're buying this, 7-day pass weekly. Then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I'm upgraded to this. I didn't even know we got a 30-day pass. So that's kind of why I like it, because if we're not reaching to them in a certain way with marketing, well, it kind of automatically gets you to figure out what type of pass, we have, so I think it's good. And also I kind of look at it as like, it's kind of layman's terms, but it's like if you go to a restaurant and you want to buy a burger and a fry, but the person tells you that it's cheaper to just buy the meal. So we tell people it's cheaper to buy the meal, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's great.
A little bit of loyalty.
So moved.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
I'll make a motion to approve the fare capping activation for 1 year. Let's test.
second,
All in favor?
aye,
Aye.
Moving on, E7, we have anything on the grant side for this month?
Yeah.
Safety and training report for December 2023. That includes a review outlining vehicle accidents from 2-month period, keep in mind it's 2-month period, October and November. Just on the revenue side, nothing on the non-revenue side, just positive on one workers' comp incident, so, and then the safety performance targets essentially relatively unchanged from there. Any questions? No. Okay. Moving on then, next item is approval of RMT's Agency Safety Plan Program Annual Review. So as part of our agency safety plan, we are required to review it once a year, and any changes to that were required to be brought to the board for updating of the plan and approval, and as well, we're annually required to review our safety performance targets and confirm that those are the targets we want to maintain or change. So this process, which one item that's, well, was new last year, which continued this year, is that the plan first goes through our safety committee for review and confirmation that the plan has been updated and the targets are what we want them to be, and that was done and completed last month, or this month, I'm sorry. And so they signed off on all the various changes that are outlined here. The only changes being that there's the inclusion of our bloodborne pathogen program in the plan this year. That was one of the things that was identified in the triennial recommendations. We included it and provided as part of our plan update. As far as the safety performance targets, the data seems to be in line with what we want it to be, and so there's no changes to the targets recommendation. So with that, those two items being the plan updates, it's submitted to the board for recommendation to approve. Questions?
Move that we approve RMT's Agency Safety Plan Program 2023 annual review.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, almost done. Other business. So next item, as we scroll down here a little bit further, item A, award of RFP 23-02 owners representative project manager. Paul, you want to go over this in terms of that process?
Yeah, well, we went out for bid for RFPs and we got 2 back. And they were way high. One came in at 1.3 million and change, and the other one came in 1.2. So after looking over the proposals, we realized that they were looking more at a team instead of a person. So we went back to both the proposers and asked for a best and final for a proposal. And we got 2 back and they're listed. The one with the lowest amount was CCS at 776,236. That's for 113 weeks of payment, about, I think it was about 4,480 hours. It's basically 1.5 FTE. Obviously, it's for the ownership project management of this huge project. And we really go, our committee, which was Dan, T and myself, we rated each one of them and came up to the consensus that CCS was basically the best bang for our buck. Both of the firms were very professional, had done this a lot, have done it for other transits. So really the experience was really almost the same. But again, CCS came on quite lower and had a lot more hours in the proposal. So we were like, funding is a little different. We had some rebuild 3 capital funds for 304,626. So we could use those capital funds for the first hours. And then once all of that is used, then we would have to using dope funds at 65% with the local match. And again, this isn't like all like now, this is actually on pay as we go. So every month when they bill, it'll come off the 304,000 first, and then when it eventually is exhausted, then it will go to the dope funds.
So this is originally scoped for phase 1, 2, and 3.
Mhm.
And projected out over 2.5 years. So from a budget standpoint, I said the capital goes on the first year of roughly of the work, and then it gives us some time to budget in the following operating budgets over the next 2 years on professional services. So, and then depending on how phase 3 moves along, we'll determine when that, how much and when, it'll be paid. So that's part of it, is just keep in mind, it's over about 3 years, 3 budget years.
Is this a not to exceed, or let's say we go 125 weeks? Will they come back?
This is the amount we have, it's longer than that, then once we run into a budget. This is what we have budget.
Right.
And this essentially, it's a not to exceed so budget. Right. So at least.
But obviously, if it goes to exceed this, we bring it to the board.
Yes.
Engineer.
Yeah.
That was, sorry.
That's your question.
Sorry.
That's all right. No, we actually discussed this on how do I word that at the bottom, because again, right now, if they actually have an engineer that they need for another project, for our project, that's not listed as this number, it's like, they're gonna charge us a little extra for that, so it's a give and take contract, you know what I mean? We're gonna have to look at it when we start and see what's going, how well it is. Again, we actually asked them to par it down to about 1.5 full-time equivalent, so hopefully.
Sure, the first half's budgeted, the first third,
Mhm,
whatever it's budgeted through capital, which we originally planned
mhm.
to do it with, just the additional becomes an operating expense before, but by not amending the grants, the capital grant, we can keep those dollars in construction and both, as opposed to putting it in this.
Right. Okay. Well, and actually, this is the amount that we originally had in the line item, in rebuild 2 for the land, which we then said that we would use for project management.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
That was the other part too.
I'll make a motion to approve the, award of RFP dash 23-01 owner's representative, project manager to CCF International.
No, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And moving on to the next item, B, approval of tenant lease agreement, it's like transfer center, so also included in the packet. Memo outlining, another prospective tenant, for the transfer center. We have, if you recall, that small space in front of the building used to be, originally it was the police substation. Police vacated it years ago. They sent us a letter detailing that they're originally approved an IGA, for them to occupy it. They've withdrawn the IGA formally and turned it back to us. They're not interested anymore, so it's sitting vacant now. So, since we'd had quite a bit of foot traffic with our real estate broker, we asked them to see if there was anyone else that was interested in this, and by happen chance, one of the folks that looked at the other space, that was looking for a smaller space, came back and said, yes, we're interested. So, that group is Crawley Services, it's a residential and commercial cleaning business. They've got some contracts with, one was actually the Rockford Police Department. Was one of the ones for one of the facilities, and I believe Lumps Park, the fire or police, they do some work there. So a group that does some work with some other folks, they don't do any work for us. So just make that clear. But they're looking at leasing that space for 3 years with options for a second 3-year term, and they would be at a rate of $420 a month with escalators for each year, and that rate is commensurate with the rate of the other spaces. So we've seen that standalone space. So happy to present that to the board. It's another revenue generating opportunity. He's great.
I'll make a motion to approve the lease agreement for office space with Crawley Services.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And that is the end of the agenda. We have executive session, but before we jump into that, Next meeting.
Our next meeting. We discussed December 21st and decided on that without your presence, because I just need two of you. Should be a long meeting, so December 21st at 3:30.
Let's get it scheduled. Then we'll think about it.
Okay, I believe that it's scheduled for January 22nd.
Yes.
No, I will not be here. January, yeah. I will do it.
Also on the 21st, when you come, there'll be food for you.
First.
Yeah, the
Next
next,
December.
December 21st.
Oh,
Yeah, we're having our employee meal. So be prepared.
So we'll just go
Someone
ahead. Is that okay on you too? Yep. I'll send out calendar invites. Okay, we'll go into executive session to discuss collective bargaining matters pursuant to 5 ILCS 122C2 and to discuss personnel matters pursuant to 5 ILCS 122C1 of the Illinois Open Meetings Act.
I will so move.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
That we come out of executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So vote on the contract, correct?
Correct. I'll make a motion to approve the collective bargaining agreement for the period November 1, 2023 through October 31st, 2026 with IBEW Local 196.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
That ends our meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now we're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.